It's obviously not Wednesday, it's Friday, but we're doing another Discuss vid this week anyways, discussing my theory regarding the ending to Far Cry 5. I finished live streaming Far Cry 5 yesterday, went from start to finish of the main story over 7 episodes. If you want to go back and watch it yourself, feel free and do so. It's in my Far Cry playlist, which is one of the playlists this video is going in, obviously. And there's technically 3 endings. There's 3. And spoilers, if you have yet to watch the ending or know what the ending's all about, or all 3 endings of Far Cry 5, I would advise you to turn away now, because we are going to be spoiling the endings to Far Cry 5. And we're going to go over which one I think is the quote-unquote canon ending, as well as my theory regarding that ending. So you have been warned. Going forward, it spoils. Yep, spoils are happening right now. So let's talk about the first ending you actually have an option to at the beginning of the game, which I did actually do in episode 1. The option not to arrest Joseph Seed, the leader of the Eden's Gate cult. At the very beginning of the game, you're supposed to arrest him, but you don't have to. And if you want to go watch how that plays out, feel free and do so at the very beginning of my episode 1 live stream of Far Cry 5. That's the first of 3 endings. So within 10 minutes in the game, you already have an ending. But now let's talk about the other 2 endings that happen at the end of the game. By the way, I don't think the first ending that we just discussed is canon. Now let's move forward. You have a final confrontation with Joseph at his compound, which is where you arrested him at the beginning of the game. And somehow, despite the fact you have taken down most of his cult, including his 3 lieutenants, his youngest brother John, his oldest brother Jacob, and Faith, he still manages to somehow get a lot of your friends captured, including your fellow law enforcement officers like the sheriff, Deputy Hudson, and the other deputy as well. They're all being held by your friends that are under the possession of Bliss, which is the drug that's been used throughout the game to possess certain cult members like the Angels into doing whatever the Eden's Gate cult wants them to do. Basically turns a lot of the Angels into quote-unquote zombies. That's what they really are. So at the end of the game, you have the sheriff, you have the 2 deputies. They're on their knees, and they're surrounded by your friends that are possessed, or I guess induced, or on the Bliss drug. And Joseph basically gives you 2 choices. Either A, walk away, or B, resist. Let's talk about the walk away ending, which is interesting, and I don't think this is the quote-unquote canon ending either. After everything you've been through, from start to finish, I seriously doubt that the deputy, which is the protagonist that you're playing as, the unnamed deputy, the Rook, is going to just walk away at the very end. But it's an ending, and what happens is the deputy, along with Hudson, I think Pratt is the other deputy, I believe, along with Sheriff Whitehorse, they get in a truck, they drive off. And the plan, according to the sheriff, is they're going to drive to Missoula, they're going to get the National Guard, and they're going to come back. But whenever the deputy was in the Whitetail Mountains fighting Jacob, he got captured several times. Well, he or she gets captured several times by Jacob Seed, who has military training and basically programs the deputy with a song, Only You. And near the end of the walk away ending, as you're driving down the road along with the sheriff and Hudson and Pratt in the back, on the radio, surprise, surprise, the song Only You comes on, and you're basically left to assume that the protagonist, the deputy, the Rook, whatever you wish to call him or her, snaps. The programming kicks in once again, and I assume that the deputy kills the sheriff and kills the other 2 deputies as well. Maybe drives them off the road or some other nonsense. It doesn't really show it. It just fades to black. similar to the end of Sopranos, right? I don't believe that's the canon ending either, because you technically kind of break that programming leading up to your confrontation against Jacob's seed. So I think that the deputy actually broke the programming when it came to that song. I could be wrong about that, but I also believe that that's not technically the quote-unquote official ending. Now let's talk about the one that most people believe is the canon ending now. If you made it this far, you've made it way past the warning sign regarding spoilers. So we're continuing to go further into the spoilers. Instead of choosing to walk away, you choose to resist. And what happens next is a drug-infused state. Joseph gets pissed. He knocks over several barrels of bliss. And you have to basically turn all your allies back. They all turn against you. You have to knock them down. You have to revive them one by one, starting with the deputies and the sheriff, and then your other friends as well, until basically it's all of you versus Joseph's seed. You defeat Joseph's seed, and just as when Whitehorse is about to arrest him, you hear birds fly by. You hear the sound of a radar alarm going off, and he's saying that this is the trumpets. This is the seventh seal breaking, and lo and behold, end of the world, nuclear blasts are going off. So this is the quote-unquote nuclear ending. And in the end, it ends up just being somehow you and Joseph back in Dutch's bunker. The sheriff is dead. The other two deputies are dead. Dutch is dead, obviously. Now, the reason why I think that even though this is technically the canon ending, I don't really buy what happens as the actual ending. For several reasons. By the way, you're welcome to chime in below in the comment section about your opinion regarding the endings. Which one did you like the most? Which one did you like the least? Which one do you think is canon? And do you agree or disagree with me regarding my theory, which is what we're going to dive into right now? So what happens is, despite the fact that nuclear bombs are going off, Sheriff Whitehorse decides that he's still going to arrest Joseph. So he gets Joseph and the deputies into the truck, and the protagonist deputy, the Rook, which you play as, drives down the road with, basically hell on earth happening. You have mushroom clouds, you have trees on fire, falling over, all sorts of insanity that you would expect at the end of the world. And for some reason, they want to make it to Dutch's bunker along with Joseph. Now, here's my issue. At this point, why would you even care or bother to arrest Joseph's seed? Now, a lot of people think that the Eden's Gate cult was responsible for the nukes going off and that he was setting them around Hope County or around Montana. I don't know if that's true or not. We don't really know. Other people believe that simply the end of the world had begun, a nuclear war was breaking out. We don't know who the factions were. Was it the U.S. versus Russia and China or North Korea or whatever? We don't know exactly who set the bombs off. The point is, in this scene, the bombs go off. I just don't think that arresting Joseph's seed in this scenario would have been top priority with the end of the world. I think the sheriff would have been like, screw Joseph's seed, leave him to his fate at the church, and grab all the other survivors, everyone else that was there at the compound with you, and get the hell out of there and try and make it to a bunker. To hell with whatever happens with Joseph. It's about survival. Who cares if he gets blown to bits in a nuclear annihilation? You'd want your friends to survive. You'd want everyone else part of the resistance to live, right? That makes more sense to me. Now, the other thing that I would like to talk about is the fact that at the beginning of this confrontation, your friends are drug-induced on bliss, and when you resist, like I mentioned a moment ago, what does Joseph do? In his anger, his rage, he knocks over 2 barrels of bliss, which means from that point going forward to the end of the game, you yourself are drug-induced. That means you cannot trust, you cannot believe anything you see, even all the way to the very end of the game. So right then and there, I think that everything that transpires with you defeating Joseph and him doing more scripture quotes and the birds flying by, the air raid horns going off, and the bombs, it all seems a little scripted, a little convenient. So my thing is, I believe that you actually do defeat Joseph Seed. I believe that you actually did arrest him, but the issue is you were all drug infused. You all were just going through some sort of, after effects of the bliss. Not just you, but the sheriff and the deputies. And you're just simply believing that Joseph end of the world prophecy had actually transpired. Now, somehow Joseph gets arrested and is put away. Now, why do I believe that? Besides the fact that I feel like the bliss plays a big role into that. Whenever you come back into the game, you start off in Hope County on top of a tower. And that's what happened to me at the end of the live stream. And lo and behold, Hope County's not destroyed. It's fine and dandy. Now see, Hudson, Pratt, Whitehorse, everyone else is still alive. And there isn't like a mission marker at the compound which would allow you to replay the mission again if you choose the resist option for the finale. There's nothing there except for a few remaining cultists and dogs. You go there, they're pretty easy to clean up. Which implies to me that you won, that you defeated Joseph Seed, and all that was left after he gets put away in jail or Missoula or wherever he ends up going. Maybe the feds come in and pick him up. Maybe the U.S. Marshals show up. I don't know. That part's not really explained. But he's not at the compound, and there's only a few remaining cultists left at the compound guarding it. There's obviously still a lot of free mode missions and objectives you can do if you haven't 100% of the game already. So right then and there, it makes me think that, well, since Hudson's still alive, since Pratt's still alive, I think that's his name. It doesn't matter what his name is. And Sheriff Whitehorse is still alive, along with all your other friends that somehow ended up at the compound with you that were mysteriously captured by Joseph, even though he didn't really have much of an army left after you basically took out his 3 lieutenants and the forces under them. Makes me believe that the canon ending isn't really an ending at all. I think it's just a drug-infused state at the very end that leaves you to wonder, like, did that really happen? Like, why did it happen? Did it actually go down that way? Or is it a bunch of BS? Or is it possible that Joseph Seed simply escaped? While everyone else is all drugged out of their minds on the bliss, he just slipped away quietly. It is possibly hiding somewhere in the mountains of Hope, Montana. Maybe in a secret bunker. And maybe in the end of the day, when he had nobody left, he decided to drink some Kool-Aid and end it all. Just like typical cultists do, right? So, to be honest, I don't really buy the nuclear ending. I think it's a bunch of BS. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I guess that's all up to the writers and the team behind Fallout 5 as to whether or not that's how the game ends. Is it simply like that region of Montana that gets destroyed? Is Joseph Seed behind it? Did he manage to get his hand on a few nukes? I mean, he did have attack helicopters. He did have attack planes. It's possible that he may have gotten some nukes. I mean, that's something that terrorists have been trying to get for a while now, and as far as we know, no terrorist organization in the world have been able to get their hands on nukes. But somehow this, cult cell up in fictional Hope, Montana managed to do so. I don't know if that's true or not, because you also have the air raid horns going off, which indicates that there's a war breaking out, and you think that the nukes would have simply gone off without the warning of the horns sounding, or the trumpets, fulfilling the 7th prophecy or the seal being broken. It's all revelation to me. But anyways, like I said, a lot of people have been discussing and debating the endings of Far Cry 5 and what does it imply, what does it mean, what exactly transpired. And the way I feel about it, like I said, I just don't consider it to be the actual ending. Simply because of the fact that you can go back into the game and you can keep playing in Hope, Montana, and you can keep clearing out the remaining cultists, doing the additional side quests, finding all the other stuff if you want to go 100% an achievement hunt or trophy hunt. You can keep doing that. Hope County has not been nuked, and everybody involved at the finale is not dead, and Joseph is either missing or behind bars. And if that was not the case, then you would simply just have to trigger the finale again and again every time you go back to the compound, but that doesn't happen. You go back to the compound, like I said, it either has a few cultists left or it's empty. But that's my opinion, that's my views, that's my theory regarding the ending to Far Cry 5. Feel free and let me know what you think about the ending of Far Cry 5. Hopefully, I didn't spoil anything for you, and you two have also played the game from start to finish. Like I said, how do you feel about my theory? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you have your own theory regarding the ending of Far Cry 5? Did you like any of the endings? Which one do you like the most of the three? Or would have you preferred creating a completely different ending? Feel free and chime in below in the comments section.